Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. So it's Monday, and now we only have 2 days left until the end of 2014. Woo-wee! Anyway, hopefully everyone has pretty much wound things down, and you're trying to just stay with some positions. You're trying to, use your tier system to create some cash flow. There's definitely some things to do, some longs to add to, some longs to trim, some cute shorts, and you basically really have to just have your levels in front of you and be prepared, because these moves happen quick and then they just sit there. This morning you had the whole Greece news, and the bears figured like they had their chance to shake up the volatility prior to end of year, and you also had oil with that breaking a threshold, giving the markets a chance to pull back a little bit, and I guess just not enough people around, nor do people want to sell to take profits, to pay taxes, whatever it is. All the levels that we've been trying to put out there have been sticking. So let's just look at them so you don't look at me talking. Here's the SPX. Here's your V bottom from October, your fast and furious move to regroup and take back all the moving averages. Then the trend that continued all the way to right there. You remember that? That was when we lost the 8-day, this upper ascending channel or triangle, whatever you want to call it, broke to the downside. Then this is when everyone got all bearish again. And what did we do here? We held the 150-day. On Fed Day with that nice close on the highs call. But anyway, from there, you had a fast, furious move. If you would have missed these 3 days, not the easiest to make money in here. That's what a lot of people keep talking about the market. It's like you have those 3 big days that you really have to be in when the rubber band snaps back. You had it down here too. I remember, really that time period happened. I remember this is when we were long into the spike. And that's when I think, who the G-Man called the bear market. But anyway, you had this move from like 1820 up to 1940, almost 80 handles from the lows in 4 days. And then everyone's like, oh, I can't buy it now. Let me start shorting. And then that happens. Here, you had this quick 3-day move. And now, all they want to do is talk about how many days were up. And, the meat and potatoes were in here. So you got to act really fast, and you have to just go with it. These quick moves happen, in the counter trend V's. So you really have to know what levels you want to get involved in and how much. So anyway, today the SPX put a low in at 2,085, didn't even retest a prior high, still looks pretty solid. Not sure if we closed on as high as it did here, but maybe it did. So right there, Greece and oil had no effect. The Qs, pretty lethargic action, in a lot of the key names, but overall, this gap's been protected. We're still above the 8-day, just not much traction, but there's not much people here. IWM made another high today. This has been a really nice trade ever since regrouping and reclaiming this pivot here, and then breaking out above this prior resistance. A much better long than short since Fed Day. I don't care what it's done all year. And as far as the weekly chart, again, I think that this breakout can continue. Remember the 2013 move? Yes, it underperformed in 2014, but now it seems like money's rotating here for what could be some alpha, which I've been talking about for almost 2 weeks, into the 130 area. So hopefully if you were short, you switch some gears already. It's a tiny bit extended, but it still looks really good. As far as some stocks, today Apple closed or started negative and went from negative to positive and gave you a nice quick trade. I think I made my money in Apple from down 20 cents to through this prior high, but then once it came back below this 114.55, I took off some size, and now I'm just in small. Still looks good, just hanging around. This was your compelling trade right here when it broke above this 113.30, and now it seems like it wants a little bit of time. This was also your compelling trade when it went above this descending channel, okay, and gave you a nice 2-day move before consolidating. Now we'll see if it needs to pull in a little bit more or what's next, but ultimately it's still acting very well. Facebook, not sure exactly what's going on here, but it seems like it always wants to mess you up before going. Right here, remember when it was showing relative strength, give you that 2-day down move before making new highs. Here also, you had this breakout failure before heading high. It seems like it always doesn't want to let a lot of people feel too confident. Same thing happened here too. It looked like it was going to break down, break below this lower pivot, engulfed it and then just took off fast. So does that happen here? I'm not sure, but I do think the 8-day testing it here makes a little sense. Okay, if it breaks below it, you still have a little bit more downside, I guess. It could still hold around here and still be more than fine, but then it'll just be a little slower. But once it gets slow and heats up, you got to jump on it. So having a little bit to watch a trade makes sense. And then at some point maybe it clears this 81-ish. But at this point, still 4 days of underperformance has been getting the sentiment back negative on Facebook. So we'll see if something happens there soon. As far as BABA, I did not get sucked in today. Stock tried. There was actually a decent trade there, but I just recently said I'm going to wait until I see a real true signal. Here was your BABA to butt call at 90 for 120. Got there. Here's when it broke the 8-day moving average and became a corrective process. Now remember this trade? Wow, that was nice. But anyway, really this is what I was focusing on and getting very excited about during the corrective phase in October, thinking that it will clear this and start to act better. It cleared it, went to 111. I remember that day. The market was strong. It reversed. That actually got me out of my common stock. And then once it broke this 107.50 here, okay, this was the day I got out. I got out of my options, and now I'm waiting. You have this small inside move. I think at some point it's going to get going. It's just obviously you could wait for that some point instead of sitting in. There was a small trade this morning, but then it just failed. Now you have 3 little topping tails, so who knows what's next here. Twitter kind of looks the same. You had a move off the lows, and actually it doesn't have it had 3 little topping tails right here, and then broke below both moving averages. So it seems vulnerable. It seems like no one really wants to have it on its books into year end. I do think this is going to be a good January effect type stock, but in order for the market to confirm that, it's going to have to break above this versus getting rejected by it. LinkedIn, still tricky. There's just not a lot of momentum, I guess. It's still hanging around. You had this nice trade through this descending channel right there, and now it's flagging. I think as long as it stays above 230, it looks good. Just if you're buying it at 235, 236, you're probably frustrated. So by the time everyone gets frustrated, maybe then it'll go. So I would wait. Baidu came off a little bit today. Haven't been so active here because it's been a little bit of a mashy mess. And I know that recently, buying momentum just on strength doesn't work. This is when it broke that upper area. You had your double bottom here, so you had to buy into weakness for some kind of clean 2-day move. But since then, there's been really nothing. And now it's just doesn't look like much. I guess see how it holds, or if we can hold this gap for some clues. Google, I think more people were targeting it as a short versus a long anyway. So today it tried to go green, it went green, and then it failed. Some guys are short, thinking it breaks this upper flag. It might, so if it breaks this is your next spot. See what happens there. I know on Friday I was trying to short G Pro. I didn't stay with it, and then today you had your down day. It would have been nice if it would have closed weaker. I think more of us would have taken it home short. But this was a nice long for us. If you remember that surprise, it was long here into that, it was long into that. Then Friday tried to short it, thinking this would be resistance. It didn't give you clues that it was done, but I guess if you just said I'm going to short here and short more, you did well. And now you have a day one down. I guess we'll see if it could hold higher, which would be right around there. Sorry out there, everyone thinks that we chase day 4s. We do not. We like to buy day 1s, maybe add day 2 if we're lucky, and then sell day 3. Day 4, we usually start shorting. As far as oil, or it's just out of the way, not chasing. Traders are prudent and technical. We're not chasing 4 or 5 days up. Everyone tries to make people believe that momentum technical traders are buying day 5 and day 6. Not the case. Usually day 5, day 6, day 7, we're in trouble because it's a standard deviation move that shouldn't have happened, and we're in that pain trade. But day 1 through 4 always looks good, or looks good from time to time. Day 4, 5, 6, 7, it gets a little frustrating. So even the markets, a little pullback would be fine. Oil, we talked about the threshold. It did break below this 2050 before bouncing a little bit. Broke 54 in crude. That's when the market got hit a little bit, but didn't fall apart. See what happens tomorrow. The better trade, which some guys caught, I think, in Florida, was this, Russia, which had, your nice action here, that capitulation low, was somewhat wedging, and then boom, broke below the 8-day, Now it's kind of nothing. It might even head back down to lows. Who knows? If it starts breaking a little bit lower, then it could raise some volatility. You know, this stock or this country has been in a downtrend for the majority of this year. You never knew where it was going to go, but you didn't have to. When it broke this head and shoulders pattern here, you could have just been out of the way or short, or when it broke major support here, who knew it was going to 12, but you didn't have to again if you just, you know, trust trends. And then here you had your nice 2-day capitulation move, and then since then it's been nothing. I haven't touched it, I think, any of these times. So anyway, some guys got short. Congrats if that's you. If you flip the other way here, this RUSL, which is one of those. What is it? There's some other. You know what? I don't know. There's some other ETF that's a reverse for it. Look for it. Sorry. The XLE did diverge a little bit. It's hanging in there. I don't know if you could fully trust it because, you know, with oil at lows, there is a diversion here where you had this reversal in the XLE. It's holding higher. So just be careful that it's not lulling you to sleep. I would, if you're long and you're active, this group, make sure it holds 79. That's where I would put my stop. And if oil bounces, you know, maybe it continues. So at this point, though, it's hanging in there after a nice move off the lows. See if that continues. Same thing goes with the OAHs. You know, actually, no, a little weaker, but still not falling apart with oil at lows. I guess you could say there's some kind of, you know, wedge pattern forming in here. So we'll see what is next. If oil really starts to fall apart and breaks 50, I would think this is to the downside. If today was a breakout, or I mean like a false move down, maybe, you know, you get some continuation there. Where else was there some action? Guys were talking about Juno. This is why it's exciting, you know, to watch new issues, because when they go, they go. And I don't know whether here's this Juno. You go to the daily chart of Juno, okay? It came public. I remember it was sold that day. I think I was buying it so many times at 38. Lost a little track of it, and then guys who played the breakout on Thursday, wow, here's your pivot. You clear an IPO high. You never know where it's going to go, but if you buy it there, put a stop in, woohoo! That's a big move. So that's why we focus on new issues that come public, because sometimes there is some nice movement in them. Look at Virgin. You know, look what happens when you clear an IPO high. Here was your 3-day move. Then it started to act perky, and then it cleared that, cleared the IPO high, and gave you a nice 2-day move before a small red dog reversal here today, meaning that it could come in a little bit. So action. You want to go with this action? There was action here. Habitat, we talked about it in my note at the lower end of the range. It did pop up today. You know, it gave you a nice trade here before this little RDR there. You know, not expecting that to happen, but you didn't have to again. If you were riding it for some type of sell signal, there it was, and then you had a, you know, open where it broke the prior low, and now it's still doing some price discovery. I guess if it pops above 36, you know what, maybe there's a trade to 38. But at this point, you know, I would just be a little bit more careful with it. But this is a new issue that looks pretty good, and you could probably learn how it trades, because sometimes they're cleaner than some of the ones that are more crowded and noisy. What time is it? Okay, we could go into gold. Gold, again, wow, what a horrendous trade. Here you had the GLDs, which looked pretty horrendous, looked like it was ready to break down, broke this small wedge to the downside, hovering on the lows here, not looking like it's going to bounce at all. Then Friday you get a gap up, which didn't let any shorts out. Okay, so if you said finally, I got to cover, you know, I'm wrong here, gold is erratic, I don't want to be bothered, then boom, fills the gap, and that's that. So this is just really hard. I don't think there's been a calculated good setup trade since here. Okay, I remember being, you know, in this for a nice trade, was holding it, and then it was looking pretty good, and then that happened, and then I just, or actually, whatever it was, it started getting so damn monotonous. Like I was closing the lows, gapped up, closed on the lows, took off, then it looked like crap, and it just, to me, you know, I think there's got to be cleaner situations that trade intraday versus flipping a coin overnight, because that's what it seems like that is. Let's see what the TLTs did today. TLTs, you know, still rounding back up, now back above the, you know, the 21-day, some of the, I guess the news out of Greece, a little bit of safety, blah, blah, blah. You know, it came back, retested this breakout and held, and now I guess, you know, it's back above the moving averages. So it seems as if it's still, you know, people are buying that dip, and why not, I guess. Bank of America, nice new high today. I bought that pre-market. I actually worked out pretty well. Let's see if it could hold above 18. Citigroup, Still not the greatest stock out there. You have this gap that it protected. It, reversed also today. I would have liked a better close, but it still looks okay. It's not at highs here. Kind of like you look at JP Morgan, that's back at highs already. You look at Morgan Stanley, it made a new high the other day and still above the 8-day. These stocks look better. I guess, I gravitated towards Citigroup for a catch-up trade, and it's still okay. We'll see what happens. This weekly chart, I think, on Citigroup still looks pretty good. It's still actually maybe, I think you ought to actually go to the monthly maybe even. Go to the monthly. What does it look like? Oh, wow, hasn't done anything. You go, I guess, to the weekly chart here. Still hasn't done really anything. In 2 years, it's been in this range. And if you adjust for the stock split, it's really just $5 or $5.50. So it has not done a thing. People want to say the banks are rolling in the dough. Not if you're an inside shareholder of Citigroup. From 2013 to here, you've done absolutely nothing. So maybe this year it takes out this 56 and really goes, and that would give you about 65. So worthy of noting. We shall see. And that's about it. Sorry, I have a little lack of energy. It's been a long week or so. Nice weekend away. Hope a lot of holiday cheer, which could also weigh you down. Hopefully you're getting yourself ready for the New Year's. We have 2 more trading sessions. New Year's Eve, I think, is Wednesday. New Year's Day is Thursday. I'll be in the office tomorrow with Brittany. It'll be our last 2014 morning call together. So hopefully you won't miss it. And hopefully I'll stop saying hopefully. Or with all that said, that's something I'm working on for the video for next year. Have a great night. See you in the morning.